Unlock the power of AI in marketing with our new series, AI Agent. Dive into the world of SaaS tools, discover how marketing pros deploy bots, and explore the best use cases for AI in your marketing strategy. Only on Marketing in the Age of AI podcast with Emmanuel Rose.
Welcome to this episode of Marketing in the Age of AI. Now, we're going to be talking about agents and bots, but maybe not in the typical marketing way. My guest today is Alexander Harmsen, and he is a tech entrepreneur. He's passionate about AI, finance, and autonomy. He founded PortfolioPilot.com, an AI financial advisor with over $30 billion in assets on the platform. Alex, welcome to the show today.
Thanks, Emmanuel. Great to be here. Happy to chat AI, agents, marketing, product, whatever we get into.
All right. Well, I love it. I know. Let's just talk about when you started working with AI in your professional career. What year was that?
Super early on. I was doing robotics in probably truly the very first AI, what we might call AI, was a grade 7 science fair project where my sister and I entered into the local science fair, and we built an entire simulation environment of animals on an island living through their lives, everything from procreating, pregnant animals, eating each other, carnivores, herbivores. And it was honestly a crazy level looking back to it. We easily won the local level. We easily won the state level, and then ended up second nationally. And ended up getting scholarships that we couldn't use for almost a decade later. But everything from robotics to drones, autonomous vehicles, at-home servicing robots, a lot of computer vision very early on. What we call AI now is a lot of large language models. Large language models are really just very large deep learning models. Deep learning models are really just large neural nets. And neural nets were really useful in computer vision very early on. And so my previous company, Iris Automation, we built deep learning, computer vision systems for autonomous vehicles, raised about 25 million, scaled up globally, and then sold the business in 2021. And sort of late 2021 is when I started this new company around Portfolio Pilot. We're now building this AI financial advisor. So I feel like it's always been AI. In my mind, AI is simply just expert systems. It's, thinking a lot about modeling the world. My undergrad degree was sort of a combination of engineering, physics, and economics. Basically, just complex systems modeling. How do you make sense of the world, turn it into some software package, and then apply it to your specific application, be that autonomous vehicles, finance. I'm a technical advisor to a company called Harmsen Life. They've built a digital twin of the human body for drug development.
Nice.
And so it's across the board, but at some point it ends up all being the same, right?
Right. You're building databases and then calling on them as you need information, right?
Exactly. In more and more complex ways. Exactly.
Yeah. Love it. Well, what you're doing right now, as far as with the Portfolio Pilot, how many data sources are you bringing in to help people make decisions?
Yeah, at the end of the day, what we wanted to do with Portfolio Pilot was build a complete replacement for the human financial advisor. And so truly personalized fiduciary financial advice. And if I think about what I need or what you might need, it's everything from sort of understanding the overall macro picture. It's understanding my personal portfolio. It's my tax situation. It's thinking about where I live, and there's this short-term liquidity needs, buying a house, sending my kids to college, retirement, very long term, what do I want to do for the rest of my life? Getting married, divorced, long-term scenario planning, estate planning, insurance, where I actually invest my money, how close am I to the efficient frontier? And then part of it is also just cutting through the noise, right? Like, what should I actually pay attention to? There's 1,001 things screaming at me every single day.
Yep.
I bet if we're talking to a marketing audience here, then a lot of it is just standing out or cutting through, helping users cut through the noise feels like a big part of actually being that trusted financial advisor. And so trying to do all of that in one go and then personalizing that to like a specific individual, I mean, that's really the focus. And I think, a lot of what we do, I think about is sort of just like a big iceberg, right? Like we take into account 16 different data sources across news, macro, individual securities, histories, pricing information. A big part of that is just news and trends and like asset classes, even alternative assets. We bring that together into this like core system where we parse through it and look for anomalies. And sometimes you want to look at sort of long-term trends. Sometimes you want to see where the trends break out. That's
Right.
what interesting stuff is, right?
Sure.
Either to flag, as part of marketing, and like we basically have built this whole like media business as well attached to Portfolio Pilot. And then ultimately what the user sees, is simply just an email once a month, a manual. Here are the 3 things you should do in June. 3 quick optimizations, takes less than 10 minutes. And ideally they are completely spot on, no-brainer moves to, improve your financial life. And you can obviously go into it and there's a whole product, but I think it should be as simple as I trust this product, they send me the advice and I can act on it and trust it, month after month after month. I don't need to be a trader and active manager and stay on top of everything. I can go live my life and be a marketer or CEO or dentist or whatever you do with your life. Play with your kids.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. So, so you're getting the my long-term goals. You're getting maybe my short-term goals, and then you're helping to obviously get a sense of what type of risk I can stomach, and then helping to make suggestions. Are you actually trading on the platform, or are you piggybacking on my E-Trade accounts?
Yeah. So we're not managing the money for you, right? And so and this has been a huge shift, right? I think with Robinhood and Schwab and Webull, and I mean, there's so many self-directed investing platforms that, millennials in particular these days, something like 70% of them have chosen to be self-directed investors and just leave human financial advisors behind. And for them, they're making trades in their own account. They're bringing their E-Trade account or their, Fidelity 401k, or they're bringing a Coinbase, crypto wallet. You can connect all those different accounts. You don't need to give us access at all to trade in those accounts or anything like this. The idea is that we're giving, human, or we're trying to remove the human bias. We're trying to remove as much conflict of interest as possible and give you advice, give you a menu of different options, and then you press, accept, ignore, no, that's, I don't like that. It learns from you even as it goes. It gets smarter and smarter the more you interact with it.
Oh, that's interesting. That makes sense. That will be dynamic and starting to see how I make my decisions, right? Let's talk a little bit about just the security of my personal information. What's your policy around that at Portfolio Pilot?
As you can imagine, super important to us. We have an entire compliance program. We think very carefully about access controls. We have bank level security across the entire system. Everything is encrypted at rest and at transit, 256-bit encryption. Part of the idea that we have read-only access to accounts that we can't actually write is for security reasons. We have 2-factor authentication. Yep. At the end of the day, if you don't want to share your information with us, that's actually perfectly fine too. You can simply just upload a statement. If you don't want to connect to your account, you can type it in manually. You can copy and paste. You can, write it on a napkin and upload it. Like truly, there's something
I
incredible
love it.
about AI recently that helps with everything from the importing to, hopefully better advice, to being able to parse through everything that's happening in the world. And then the idea is like, how do we
Yep.
do that in a reliable way? How do we, we have this hybrid AI model where we sort of take traditional portfolio management tools and modern portfolio theory and then, merge that with modern AI and have evaluation systems for that. But privacy is obviously so important. Trust is at the heart of everything that we do.
Yeah, that's how you keep people on a platform. Now I saw you had what was it about? Was it 30 or 40 B that's on the
$30
platform
billion
now?
last time we, counted it properly, a couple months ago.
Yeah.
It's happened so fast, right? We got regulatory approval to operate as a registered investment advisor and actually give real fiduciary financial advice about 18 months ago, September 2023. And it's just grown like wildfire since then. I don't think we're quite ready for AI to manage our money for us, but the idea that you could hook up some accounts, answer a few questions, and then 5 minutes later actually start getting optimization suggestions, that feels like it's fully within the Overton window. There must be tens of millions of people that are open to the idea of just like, okay, I'm not looking at every day. I'm not an expert. Let's give it a try. Worst case scenario comes up with a bunch of suggestions that I don't like. And, I move on. Especially we have a 2-week free trial, right? So there's we tried to make it truly so little obligation up front. You don't need to move money to Portfolio Pilot to start using it. Even, one of the big things we keep getting asked about is how often do you want me looking at this? We talk a lot about should we focus on gamification? Is this should we make it more of an addictive product? And we don't want that. I actually think there's a lot of people actively searching for something that doesn't do that. Now, I would be perfectly fine if people come in once a month to make a change in their portfolio. We never talk about trading. Right. It's always about investing. We encourage people to do long-term, have a long-term focus. We specifically talks about the drag and the fees that you're paying to churn accounts. And there's lots of bad practices in the rest of the industry. And so part of it is fighting against that. But then we kept running against this idea of okay, I'm okay not trading every day. And it's a good thing you don't push me to, keep raising my score, every single day. And it moves around a lot, and no confetti every time you make a trade, this sort of thing. But people want to stay informed, right? And they like the idea that, their financial advisor helps cut through the noise. And so recently, 2 months ago, we bought this media brand called diversification.com. And that's been a really interesting other exploration. Obviously, we're constantly focusing on trying to pull new users into the platform, doing user acquisition at scale. Yeah. I don't like the idea of just pouring more and more money into Google ads and Meta ads and Reddit ads. And so if we can find an organic way to show up on people's feeds or in their inboxes or, and so the idea of owning a media brand actually seems really appealing, especially because we can connect it to our existing engine, publish stories. And then, we don't want to focus on, I don't know, NVIDIA just did an earnings announcement, right? Most people actually don't care about that at all. Show me how it connects to the longer term trend. And so it's a huge focus on long-term investors. And one of the things that people seem to really like with diversification.com is we have this newsletter. You can get it either daily or weekly. And it just covers the top 5 most impactful stories of the day or the week. And that's it, right? Whatever the system thinks is the most impactful stories. And it could be some small part, uptick in a larger trend. It could be something about AI. It could be something about how markets move, some inflation, COVID, whatever it is, should show up. And we're constantly trying to make that better and actually capture what 5 most impactful things. It's rare that
I love
Taylor Swift's wardrobe malfunction will ever show up in that newsletter. It's rare that you'll get some sporting event that shows up there. It's rare you'll get individual company earnings reports. And hopefully it's part of this, like, okay, I want to stay involved and I want to stay connected. Help me cut through the noise. If I can just trust this one source, then, I'd spend 2 minutes on it every day. And I feel like I've sort of done my duty to stay involved. And, if I need to make some change, I'll get an alert from Portfolio Pilot. And other than that, I can just live my life. And I actually think that
I love it. Yeah.
It feels sort of counterculture, but those are the things that actually get a lot of traction, right?
Yeah, no, I think that's a big power move for sure. It's called content to commerce,
exactly.
right? So I love that you've taken a way to help people educate and be involved in the thinking around it, and then giving them a tool to actually take some action with. So that's beautiful. Are you using an AI tool to aggregate some of the content for diversification.com?
Definitely. It's all part of the same system, right? Like, truly, when I say this, the iceberg, right? Ideally, what the things that people see at the very top are just like, it's filtered and it's personalized. And so, we're taking these 16 different data streams, we're pulling in and scraping the web, on a bunch of custom scrapers that we've built. We are looking at like these long-term macro trends and how they connect to this sort of underlying forecast. It's like how asset classes and sectors are moving. You can also just, like, even on diversification.com, without signing up for an account, you can just, upload a statement or, copy and paste your portfolio, and we'll give you your diversification score, right, across 10 different categories. And there's a report, and then obviously there's an upsell to, if you want to get this every week, and if you want to track your net worth properly, sign up for free to portfoliopilot.com. And the two are very linked in that way. And so ideally, as much as possible, we use this for like truly useful, but, scale as much automated as possible. I don't want to have a team of, CNBC type, reporters.
Right.
And probably we're not going to break the news.
No need.
But if we can, 10 minutes later, aggregate and filter and show just the most impactful stuff across, 20 other sites that are actually doing the boots on the ground, news breaking, that's fine for most people, right? It's not useful for the trader that needs, the minute, up-to-date minute news, but that's fine. There's, 1,001 tools for those people.
Yeah, I love it. All right, well, that's great. I love the diversification.com as the media side of the business, and it looks like it's focused only on information and on your brand Portfolio Pilot.
Exactly.
So it's not confusing at all, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. I love it. Besides that, what are some of your other top kind of lead generation things that you're finding success with right now?
Yeah, one of the interesting things we found is we're really trying to focus on the intersection of interesting and personal. And I think that, like, the personal piece feels like it's overlooked with AI. Obviously, some people talk about it, but I feel like a lot of people, when they talk about AI, is automation, it's doing things at scale, it's focused on, sifting through large data sets, it's, ASI and, superhuman, whatever. But I actually think that the main benefit of AI for most people is going to be incredible amounts of personalization. I care about this kind of news. I care about this kind of story. And so, we found that a lot of insights from our own user base itself is interesting. The kinds of alternative assets that people hold, that's interesting stuff. And it's, we do some content around, like, JC, like, this is how he diversifies his portfolio, and there's something interesting, sort of voyeuristic about looking into that world, but feels, not that interesting. If I can somehow figure out, like, what's the the weirdest alternative asset that someone on my block holds, just in my neighborhood, oh, I think
Yeah.
I'd pay money to just get a glimpse into that life, right?
Right.
There's something
Right.
fascinating. There's something, if we have a fair amount of information about you already, about your net worth and goals and, this financial life, we should be able to tailor the media side as well. And if we get the incentive right, I think the incentive is wrong when it comes to ads. The main focus is about attention, getting you to scroll as long as possible, daily
Right.
active engagement. Our incentive actually is much more aligned with, do you trust us? Right? Do you trust us to deliver you the news that is actually impactful? Do you trust us to not try to upsell you and cross promote other products that you probably shouldn't be buying? And that, I think at the end of the day, a lot of the marketing piece is simply just trust. And the more personal we get, the better. I'm personally start showing up in a lot more of our videos and posts, and
Good.
our single biggest, all of our social, we have obviously diversification.com, Portfolio Pilot, Global Predictions, social accounts. But what we're starting to lean into, probably 80% of our focus is my personal accounts. And that really seems to resonate. And the more I talk about my kids, the more I talk about struggles with the business, the more we build in public, it's things like that seem to be genuine and, especially in a world of just filled with noise.
Yeah. Wow. I think that's a great takeaway. And I appreciate you mentioning that. And I agree entirely that this level of view into the leaders of the business life is really what not just the millennials and the Z's are looking for, but all of us are looking for, is that personal connection. So good on you, Alex. I love the work that you're doing, and I know you're going to do well because you're on a good runway, and you've done this before.
It's a lot of fun. I get to talk to lots of Americans from all kinds of different financial backgrounds every single day. And if I can help people just, have a little bit more in their retirement accounts, if I can help people stress a little bit less about finances, if I can save them, 1% advisor fees every year, I'd be happy. And then, I think the rest will sort of just take care of itself.
All right. Well, I wish you the best of luck. PortfolioPilot.com is one of the ways to get in touch with you. How else do people find you?
Yep. PortfolioPilot.com. We're constantly looking for feedback. We're really focusing on the onboarding experience in particular right now. Feel free to send me a note, alex@portfoliopilot.com. My marketing guy would kill me if I didn't mention, you can have a free month of our premium service with the promo code podcast. And then, truly, we're constantly looking for little bits of feedback. I think the features are there. Now we're trying to make it just this, truly useful consumer product that, scales up. And, we can't get enough of the user interaction.
All right. Well, that's a good position to be in, because then it becomes very sticky, as we know.
That's the goal.
Yeah. All right, Alex. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate you describing these things and sharing a little bit under the hood with what you guys are doing at Portfolio.
Thanks for having me on. You have a great day.
Okay. You too. Cheers. Well, there's two great takeaways from this conversation. One is the idea of building or at least leveraging educational material at scale. And it creates a lot of trust, and it allows you to build a user base of prospects very cleanly and easily. And I love what they're doing with their diversification.com. It's not pounding you with ads and pop-ups. It's just providing information, and then leads to the primary brand, the Portfolio Pilot brand. The second awesome takeaway is to share the stories and the struggles not just of the business, but also of your life, and allow people to have kind of a look into what you are doing as a human being, and connect on that emotional level. So hope you've enjoyed this edition of Marketing in the Age of AI. My hope for you is that you take some time today to either upskill and learn some things about AI and how some of the tools might help you. Check out some of the deep research projects like Notebook LM, or dig into prompt writing and start building a custom GPT for yourself. Buy some time back, and then take that time and spend it with your friends and your family, and get outside and go for a walk in the fresh air. It's Emmanuel Rose, Marketing in the Age of AI. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for listening to Marketing in the Age of AI. Be sure to subscribe wherever you heard this podcast so you never miss a future episode. Your copy of Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI is available at Amazon.com or EmmanuelRose.com. You can also connect with Emmanuel on LinkedIn. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.